Everyone, and welcome back to the Health E-commerce Friday Live podcast. I'm your host, Amy Kading, Technical Product Manager and Marketing Services Director here at Get Healthy, and we've been going live every Friday to discuss growing the business of health and wellness. Last week, we wrapped up our month-long series about running group programs successfully, and today we are going to follow up with some post-program store metrics for wellness practitioners. Special guest this week is Jon Armstrong, founder and CEO of Get Healthy. Welcome back, Jon. It's been a minute.
It's great to be here. Excited to kind of close up the topic of programs that you guys have been going through with Dr. Tracy and Courtney and you and others. So I'm excited to kind of participate here at the end of the program's focus.
Yeah, definitely. We appreciate you taking the time to be here. And for those that are tuning in for the first time, we've been talking about programs quite a bit since the beginning of April, so feel free to go back and watch those on our YouTube channel. And also kind of, let's say beginning of February, Jon, you were here and we talked about lifetime value and how to make money while you sleep. So again, if anybody wants to go back and watch that, it's a great episode. But let's kind of start with that. And Jon, if you could give us a refresher on lifetime value and how it relates specifically to programs and post-reported metrics that we're talking about today.
Yeah, if you would, let's pull up the equation for
Okay.
lifetime value. And before I kind of give a review of this, one of the other things that we first started off with was the 5 pillars of success in health and wellness. And the first one of those was having a branded store, a single
Right.
store that is an extension of your practice. And I think that's so key with your programs and driving lifetime value. Yes, but if you think about if you're trying to market to somebody and to engage with them and have them purchase, you obviously need a catcher for that, if you will, a place to be able to merchandise that and for them to feel that reinforcement of the relationship. So that pillar number one is a
Mm-hmm.
cornerstone to programs and driving lifetime value. So let's talk about lifetime value. Lifetime value is it is the ultimate key metric in any relationship business. And so as a part of programs, this is a contributor to that, but it's much more broad. Okay. And remember that lifetime value is a two-way street. The value that you can deliver to those that you're influencing their health, and therefore you naturally derive some value out, some
Right.
income, further relationship with them, expansion of that relationship, maybe outside of just the patient to their family, et cetera. So, lifetime value has 3 components. The first one is, every time you're up to bat, where you're engaging with somebody online through that branded store, how much are you going to sell? What's your average order value? Is a typical AOV is a way to look at what's that average sell. And I think the
Yeah.
thing with programs that it does is, if you're including, you can include a broad set of things. You might have a video training, a diagnostic test, a diagnostic consultation, so a service, um, as well as product. And then maybe there's facilitated sessions and follow-up diagnostic, follow-up consultations, all those things in a program. Those oftentimes become a very big ticket item, meaning we enable those on the store so that you can sell it all in a single package instead of having to piecemeal, okay, buy my service for this, buy these supplements for that, buy my
Right.
follow-up here. You're buying it all together. So your average order value in doing so is going to be way larger than a typical sale. In just selling products on our platform with our practitioners, it differs by practitioner, but a standard average order value that we see is typically maybe in the $130 to $135 range. Well, obviously, with a
Okay.
program, those numbers are going to be way larger.
Right.
So, in terms of driving that higher average order value, programs are going to be a very large contributor to increasing that number. Okay, so that's the first component is that average order value. Now, let me expand your thinking a little bit more on average order value. Um, Underneath average order value is things like products per cart. Okay, so how many things are they buying? Because obviously each one of those is going to increase the value. So when you
True.
have a well architected customer experience, customer shopping experience under your brand, what we see happening is those cross sells and upsells. Okay, where somebody might buy your program, yes, maybe they don't buy the program. But either way, now you have the ability, you've given them the ability to shop. And if mom's your client, we go back to that
Mhm.
avatar a lot. Mom has a lot more purchases in her than maybe this program that you're selling. She sees that
Right.
you have a men's category and a children's category. She goes out and buys those children's chewables for kids and that men's one a day for her husband. So those things are going to help you when you're up to bat. Maybe she doesn't buy the program, but she buys other products. It's a downsell. Maybe she doesn't want to spend $3,000 on a full program,
Sure.
but because you have that branded store and another one of our key pillars, you have a multi-category store, then she has the ability to buy other things from her trusted advisor, which is you.
Yep.
So those both are, contributors to getting the conversion, so getting a sale,
Mhm.
and driving average order value when you do get a sale. And that's the first component of lifetime value. Now, two other components. The second one is the number of transactions. So, how frequently, how many times in a given year is she buying from you? Well, if she's been following your content or maybe doing some clinical work with you and you're creating a program and she's engaging with that, if she buys that or not, it's reinforcing that relationship. Okay? She's like, "Wow, this practitioner, maybe it's just somebody that your reader has engaged with you online through a podcast, through a blog, through social, email, whatever it may be. But she sees that you're creating these programs, which in effect, you're selling an outcome. You're like, we're going to go through a series of things in the program. I'm going to teach you along the way, etc. She sees that as value, but she sees it in context of this branded store. Okay. So maybe she doesn't buy the program. Maybe she does, but
Mhm.
it reinforces that relationship and that shopping experience. One of the things that it just perplexed me when I was a patient and before we built this platform was why are these practitioners sending me chasing my tail to multiple third parties that aren't them? You know, they wanted me to go to a distributor, to affiliates, maybe to a video streaming platform like a Thinkific,
Mhm.
to do all these individual components, and it was so hard on me.
Right.
And so I didn't have a good shopping experience. So my likelihood at coming back was a lot lower than it would be if I, as the practitioner, provided a good shopping experience, even if I didn't buy that program. So if you think about that second component in lifetime value, how many times they purchase from you, by just creating the program and creating that engagement and educating them on the possibilities, and then doing so through your practice branded store, you're now reinforcing that relationship under your brand, under your branded store as a connection to your practice. So your number of transactions goes up. Okay. So in a given year, you know, mom next month, she's like, well, gosh, I need some vitamin C and D and maybe a probiotic or collagen, some of those things
Yep.
that we all buy. And she's like, well, I saw those on my practitioner store. So she goes back and buys them again. And then maybe later on you're posting something to social or in your blog about another health topic, let's say detoxifying the body with an infrared sauna, and you provide her a link back to your store. Once again, you're reinforcing that relationship. And we know mom's all about convenience. So she reads that. She now trusts you. She trusts you even more. She's engaged even more because you have developed this program. So she buys these cross-sell, upsell opportunities that you give her in the future. So now you have mom buying for herself, potentially buying your program, buying for her family, and buying for her and her family in the future when you've had no influence or potentially no influence. She's just seeing you as a shopping destination with her trusted advisor. That drives the number of transactions in a given year. So that's component two, variable two in the lifetime value formula. The last one is really, how long is she a patient? Okay, that retention period. How long is she going to buy, 8 transactions from you in a year at an average order value of $130? Is she going to do that just for 3 months? Because if you're sending her transactionally to these third parties, she's not going to see that as a shopping experience. And
Right.
she's not going to come back in the future.
Mm-mm. No.
So you're going to get fewer transactions, and your duration of how long she's going to buy from you is going to be very short. If you're using that practice branded store, you have that multi-category offering of products, and it's a positive customer experience under your brand, then she's going to get more and more comfortable. And our collective goal is for her to not buy health products on Amazon,
Right.
because we know Amazon doesn't monitor what's going on, what product companies are selling. And so there's a lot of less than desirable products, especially supplements that might be sourced from foreign countries, not be engineered for bioavailability, for absorption, and have bad filler ingredients. Okay, so if you are providing her with this experience with good quality products, you start to see results, then she's going to want to buy from you in perpetuity and not have that default behavior of going to Amazon. So we're going to reduce the leakage of sales that you're influencing as a practitioner that go elsewhere, that you in effect don't get compensated for. But in this model, with your own practice branded store, where you're creating ongoing value through things like programs, then she's going to be somebody that is going to buy from you longer term. She, might get more and more comfortable and actually do a program if she didn't do the initial one. As you send out things, notifications for, let's say, a promotion, mom's going to be a buyer. She sees
Right.
more value there. Okay. And that duration, it's not going to be like a couple months. It's going to be measured in quarters and years. One of the things I like to say in this industry, our practitioners would love to have a relationship from cradle to grave, helping people stay healthy, get
Sure.
healthy,
Yeah.
stay healthy, and age gracefully. And not just for your primary buyer, the patient or the reader of your content, but for her family as well. So lifetime value is the ultimate metric in a relationship business, and programs are an example of you adding value along the way to drive all three of those components of lifetime value: average order value, the number of transactions that someone might do in a given year, and then lastly, the duration of that. So now that is the macro level, if you will, the top down ultimate metric for your store, your relationship, and the programs are a huge contributor to that value that you're adding and that you're getting out of that relationship and that they're getting from you.
And I'll just throw in, from a digital advertising perspective, the importance of that retention piece. It is much more expensive to acquire new customers than to nurture and keep people in your wheelhouse. So once you get them in there, that we talked about, like, relationships in terms of the pillars since the beginning, and that piece is so crucial, I think, when we talk about lifetime value, because once they're in your wheelhouse, keeping them there for as long as you can, that is exactly what you want, to have a successful store.
Yeah, I mean, let me just add to that. Very standard business thought. It costs a certain amount of money to acquire customers, and if you understand your lifetime value, and your lifetime value is more than your cost of customer acquisition, you have a long-term successful business.
Yeah,
Okay,
good point.
so the more that you can do, the more value you can add through things like programs, promotions, etc., the more value you're going to derive. That lifetime value is going to go up, and if that's more than it costs to acquire a customer, you got a long-term successful business.
Excellent point. Yeah. Okay, so now, kind of veering back towards programs, let's talk about, how to actually measure them in your store and what metrics to look at. So let's jump into performance analytics.
Yeah, on this, let's look at the back end, the admin tool that practitioners
Okay.
have in our technology, and I'll just go through a few things here. Um, so, in a store, you see kind of the reporting dashboard here. So, obviously, depending on how you market your programs, you're going to get some new clients, people that haven't engaged with you other than maybe through social, or you might have their email address, but they haven't bought anything from you. So, you'll see new clients on here as being a metric, and I think it's a good one. You hope over time that a lot of these people have already bought from you, so you won't have necessarily a new client, but you'll have a growing list of clients that buy from you multiple times. Um, the next thing I would say here is looking at the carts. Okay, so if you if you send this out in some type of promotion on your store, on maybe a sales page, in an email, etc., then your dashboard here is going to tell you how many carts were created. So, um, and one of the things I like to do up in the upper right here, you see a date range. So, one of the things that a practitioner might do is look at a date range, let's say a month prior to when they started um, promoting the program, then during the program, and maybe a week afterwards to look at what all these metrics are, and then long term see if it increases your number of clients, your amount of revenue, etc., and do it in a time series. Where was I before? What happened during? How many new clients did I get during my program? Okay. What happened to my average order value? Just as I
Right.
mentioned earlier, with programs, because you're bundling a series of things together, your average order value should go up. So let's though before we move on to average order value, Amy, could you toggle over to a cart view? Because there's one action I want to encourage people to take. So we have this listing of carts, and you see here on the right where you can take an action and encourage people. So if somebody they would go out and create a cart, or they've clicked on a link maybe that you sent them through a cart that you originated. But this is a view to where you can go and send a reminder. The system when somebody has an abandoned cart, the system will send one reminder itself saying, hey, you were going to buy this from your practitioner. Click here to purchase. But practitioners, as a best practice, can go in and very easily resend these carts.
Right.
Okay. So, and we're going to be doing some more work on how we architect and bring all this information together for you. So just know that's coming down the road.
Hmm.
But I wanted to point out here from an action standpoint that you can look at carts that were built either by you or by the consumer themselves, and you can send a reminder.
Yeah. It's a great point. I think people forget that we have that. And so, yeah, you don't have to just sit back. People need a nudge. We have really short attention spans, whether it's, especially mom who's out doing all the things, buying them. Like, people remind me, it gets to the top of your inbox. People need that these days. So it's really important.
Yeah, and we do have the ability for people to send a text as well when
Yeah.
they're creating carts. So we won't go over that today, but know that we all get way too much email, and so giving somebody a nudge with a new email is usually welcome,
Yep.
and it will result in some conversions. So we just wanted to give you the ability to do it here. But let's get back to the metrics for programs. Average order value. You should see when you look at this from a time series perspective that your average order value in the time frame that you're running the program should go up. This is a demo store that we're looking at here, so the numbers are pretty low. The thing I would tell you though is average order value long term is an indication. If you think about bundles that you might create, let's say you're creating a sleep bundle or an allergy bundle, you kind of know that your buyers over time, that number averages out. If they're good with buying on average $130, then think about that as a range that you might want to keep a bundle to, so that when you run a promotion or as people are shopping on your store, as they become more and more comfortable at buying from you, that they can look at those bundles, and that's metrics kind of telling you that, yeah, on average, this is what people are buying. So that is a good indication of or bit of knowledge for you as you're crafting things that you're doing in the future.
And I would say sometimes, people look at, like a reporting dashboard and they're like, oh, this is great data. What do I do about it? Let's say you are looking in here and there is like a dip at AOV and you want to, focus on pushing it up, even like pushing bundles is a way to do that. Even like cross-selling. I mean, we have a lot of functions. I don't know if you want to speak to any other ones, John, but we have things that can help you actually are actionable items once you look at these pieces of data, which is what we're trying to help you do.
Yeah, let me talk about this in a couple aspects. First off is if you want to promote, if you want to do some type of promotion. So that would be, a lot of people have become familiar with creating sales funnels, and that might be through a tool like a ClickFunnels or maybe page builders. There's a lot of page builder tools, and basically those give you the ability, typically drag and drop, for you to create a landing page with good educational content, maybe some imagery, and obviously several calls to action throughout that funnel page. That is the front end marketing aspect. And then you need to have a good catcher, being a store, a branded store that you can easily merchandise to connect to that marketing that you're doing. So let's say that you're writing a blog on allergies, okay, as an example. So we give you the ability to create an allergy bundle, and that allergy bundle might include something for the symptoms, the histamine problem, the congestion. You also might have something for the stomach, because we know that histamine problems start in the stomach. And then you might have a home air filtration system. Okay. So in your front end marketing that you're doing through whatever funnel or sales page builder tool, you could actually have a bundle on your store created, which creates a landing page and a unique URL for that individual bundle of products that you've created. And you could link them from your long page sales funnel, long content, etc., into that bundle, okay, or into your program. Since we're talking about kind of the end of programs here, you also can drop them into the cart. We have a capability called Buy Now. And that gives you the ability to embed a product or protocol into that call to action button. And when somebody clicks it from your sales funnel, it actually is going to drop them into the checkout cart. That means that all they have to do is put a credit card in. And if they bought from you before and it's already saved in their account, all they're going to have to do is put the CVC code in and hit buy. So you're going to have a lot higher conversion rate. So know that as you think about marketing activities, promotions, things maybe that you're running in clinic, or a podcast that you're going to be on, or a blog post that you want to write, your store needs to be the catcher of that. And we have specifically built functionality to facilitate a good customer shopping experience that will drive the best conversion rate. So you might, relating this back to average order value, let's say that you're trying to drive better lifetime value. So you're like, I want to inch up my average order value. So maybe instead of a $130 bundle, you put together a $150 bundle. And maybe you suggest putting it on subscription. Maybe it has vitamin D and somebody needs to be on that in perpetuity or for a long period of time. And so you might suggest them putting it on a subscription. All that can be enabled through the work of whatever you're doing from a marketing perspective, or we might be doing those marketing services for you, since we do offer those. And then we have the best tool to catch that traffic and get you your best conversion rate.
Yeah, great examples. Thank you. Are there any other metrics to point out before we move on specifically towards programs?
Let's move back to campaign. I know we're getting short on time, and I just want to touch on a couple things here. So one thing that we're not going to go over today are if you're doing some type of campaigns, oftentimes these might be paid. So you might be doing a campaign through Instagram or Facebook that you want to promote, and so there's some cost associated with that. Those all those channels, Google AdWords, for those more sophisticated, but all of those social tools, those channels, if you will, ways that you can get traffic, um, they have metrics that can be tracked, and those are things like ROAS is a very standard when you're paying money. You know,
Yeah.
if you're spending money, you want to know how much revenue you're getting and how much profit you're getting. So ROAS is revenue on ad spend. How much did that promotion cost on Facebook? That cost me $100. Great. How much did I make during that time period while I was doing the promotion? Because if somebody told you that you were going to make $1,000 in revenue for every $100 that you spent, would you continue to do it? What if they told you you could make $5,000 for every $100 you spent? So there's a lot of metrics. ROAS is one. CTR is click through rate. Your quality score is something that is specific to Google. There may be other platforms that have something similar, but it's these are all metrics. CVR is conversion rate, AOV is average order value. They're campaign metrics on the front end. And the thing that we do is we have the ability to track that traffic from those individual sources and push that sales data back to complete the circle, if you will. So
Right.
if you're doing that Facebook campaign and you've now spent $100, we can actually track the traffic that came in from Facebook and push that revenue data back out to Facebook so that you can actually get a revenue on ad spend. You
Yeah.
can see that. So that's what I wanted to touch on here. We'll come
Okay.
back when we get into more advanced marketing discussions and illustrate this and talk more in depth about it. But I wanted to bring it up here and just say that campaign analytics are um, really a combination of tracking that's done by the channel tool and us as your commerce partner, and then getting that looked at in context of your ad spend and the revenue you get from it. So those are more broad, more thorough campaign analytics that we can help track. That's all I really want to cover today on
So
that.
we could talk about that for a long time. So we will do that another time. Kind of, and I think we wanted to touch on site analytics too, which is its own Pandora's box, which deserves probably like multiple podcasts. But let's touch on that briefly.
Yeah. Um, Site analytics are things that as you get more sophisticated, and we have people asking us now, and some people that are connected with Google Analytics, but Simple Analytics and Google Analytics are two tools. Okay.
Yep.
Google, everybody's heard of because they're huge. Simple Analytics is a more basic version that you can connect to your store as well. So, or we connect for you.
Right.
But here's some examples. If you're running a program and you've created one of those sales front ends, maybe you sent it out in email or posted it to social, and you're landing them on a bundle page within your store. Some people are like, well, how much time did they spend on that bundle page? Because I'm curious, are they really engaging with maybe you give them
Hmm.
more education? So they're like, what's my time on site or time on that individual page? Um, in a given session, when I transferred somebody from whatever I'm doing from a campaign perspective to my store, how long were they on the store? Now, even more exciting would be, how many people did I send to the store and how many people bought? What's
Right.
my conversion rate? you know so those are all site analytics that are enabled when you have tracking enabled on your store, and then we have on whatever your channel partner is. They have tracking coming, let's say, from Facebook or Instagram. So there are different site analytics that you can get with Google, and then we can connect Google up with your store, so you can get that complete view of not only what the engagement was on the front end on the channel tool, but also then they got to the store. What was the engagement in the end? What was the conversion rate?
Right.
What was the average order value? What was my revenue on ad spend if I'm actually doing sponsored promotions and things like that. So I just wanted to introduce that here so people understand that we are very advanced in terms of being able to help you track those things that are happening on your store, and then present them in a tool like Google Analytics or Simple Analytics so that you can get a full view of what happened in the channel, what happened with your marketing within whatever channel tool you're using, and then what happened on my store. That gives you a complete picture. That's where, I mean, sophisticated retailers, online retailers, that is the holy grail for them to be able to
Yep.
close that loop and have that view, because it informs them for the future.
Yeah.
So just a high level food for thought, and know that we'll come back probably after the summer, and we'll pick up the topics around more advanced marketing and go into more depth on topics like this.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for scratching the surface and starting to introduce analytics to our audience. Looking forward to diving in deeper. If anybody has any questions, you don't want to wait till the fall to learn more, reach out to us. You can find us at marketing@gethealthy.store or gethealthy.store/contact. We can, guide you in detail about the reporting that we showed you on the back end of your store, and also start to talk to you about site analytics and channel. Really important stuff. So excited to go further there. Thank you so much for tuning in for this season. That's a wrap of our Healthy Commerce Friday Live Season 1 podcast. And like Jon said, we'll be back in the fall for Season 2. But don't worry, we're not going to just leave you hanging this summer. Please join us for feature release Fridays. Every other Friday throughout the summer, we've got a lot of great stuff to introduce to you, a lot of hard work that's been going on. So really excited to release these features and tell you about them so that you could use them to, grow your lifetime value and increase your sales. That's what we're here to do.
Yeah, Amy, let me preface one. One of the things that we've built on the administration component of our stores is the ability to configure a pill pack. Okay, so you can actually do personalized medicine through your tool, where you configure 3 or more products, and instead of the buyer getting, let's say, 5 bottles that they have to open up every time or take with them on vacation or whatever, it comes in a personalized pill pack and a box with the pill packs with the pills that you have suggested. So that is just an example of some functionality that we have. A lot of things that we want to roll out, make sure people understand. And then I also, in context of analytics, something that Amy and I have been working on is looking at how we can make the right analytics get surfaced and be actionable for you. We showed you a little bit of
Right.
what is on the tool today from a dashboard reporting perspective, but we want to bring that together and make it very easy for you to use and easy for you to take action. So that's something we're in design on, and as we get closer and roll those things out. But you'll get every other Friday, you're going to get kind of a deep dive into certain features so you can more effectively use your store.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you for being here. Thanks to everyone who's been listening, and have a great summer. We'll see you soon.